Hello, welcome. I'm here with Jesus, one of the greatest fantasy football analysts of all times, and we're here to talk about Jesus and the Unpredictables, the league. Some great stuff shaking up this year. What do you think about it?
This has been a very, very exciting league. I mean, we have a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to it earlier, but hey, better now than never, right?
Let's get right to it. Hey, what are your biggest surprises this year in the league?
You know, there's a lot of surprises that have happened in this league. I mean, good and bad. But one of the surprises that really sticks out to me has to be the defending champ, Angry Swede, who just changed his name to, what is it, Angry Swedish Knights. I mean, it might have did something to help him because he had his first win of the season against Luke's team. That's not really saying much, but a win is a win, you know, so he'll take it. He's a defending champ, you know, he actually had I thought he had the best draft, actually. I thought he
stockpiled some of those picks.
Yeah, he did.
I got some good deals.
But he's 0-4.
1-4.
1-4, that's right, 1-4 now because he beat Luke's team. But I mean, 1-4. I mean, the playoffs are looking a little bleak for him right now.
He's down there with the lowest points scored, down there with Rumbles. You know, so
yeah. So I mean, that would be my big surprise of the league.
He does have a lot of points against him, which is unfortunate. So, all right, that's a pretty big surprise. My biggest surprise is going to be on the other end. I'm going to be surprised that Knights with Bruises, managed by Mike Carter, is up there in the top. That's unbelievable. You know, the preparation that he put into this league, and you know, his failure in the last year. I'm really surprised to see him up there. He's really doing well, but the team kind of seems a little bit of a counterfeit in the sense that he has some of the lowest points scored. I mean, he's only scored 15 more points than the last place team. So that's kind of crazy thing. The first place team, last place team, they've scored 15 points different. You can see strength of schedule. He hasn't played anybody.
I mean, I think he's had some just favorable matchups. You know, a lot of people haven't really, you know, put up a bunch of points against him. I mean, maybe there've been a couple games here and there that he's pulled out, but I mean, he has Matt Ryan, who, you know, he's hit or miss. He's hard or cold. He has, you know, 30-point games, or he has, you know, 10-point games. You know, Shady McCoy, he's done nothing for him. I actually heard there was, you know, it's from the rumor mill, that someone actually offered him a trade for Shady McCoy, but you know, that's
like all those guys. It could burst out later on. So let me tell you, pretender or contender, Knights and Bruises. Is he a contender sitting at the top?
You know, looking at his team right now, I'm gonna have to say that just because he got off to that fast start, he's still a contender. He might stumble to the finish line, but I think he'll still make it to the playoffs.
It'd be tough to not make it with starting out 4-1.
Yeah.
Another 4-1 team, pretender or contender, Veinte Dos Knights.
See, Veinte Dos Knights, that's another one. He's kind of had to work for that 4-1. For some reason, I always thought he was like 2-3, but you know, he only had one loss of the season. Last week, he barely beat the Knights. I mean, like I said, a win's a win. But, I mean, he didn't put up too many points.
Check this out. He has more points against him than he does scored, but yet he's still 4-1.
You know, this season's pretty weird. I can't explain. This season, this league has always been unpredictable.
So is he legit for the playoffs?
You know, I'm going to say, just like Knights and Bruises, having a 4-1 start, you know, can always get you to the playoffs. So, if there was somewhere in the middle as contender, I would go with that. Contender.
Okay, let's jump down a little bit, somebody in the rankings. Roaring Lion, pretender or contender?
You know, Roaring Lion hasn't really done much this season. He's kind of just been in the muddle middle. He's got Peyton Manning.
He went all in for Manning.
He went all in for Manning, and you know, that's kind of paid off, more or less. Andre Johnson, you know, that's kind of a bust. Michael Crabtree, kind of a bust.
Jimmy Graham,
I mean,
he's injured. He's on bye week. He's injured. Hopefully, he comes back strong. Peyton Manning and Jimmy Graham are going to carry you. You kind of feel sorry for Jorge in life with most things. So hopefully that hopefully turns around and keep it going.
You know, he's the true underdog story, and we always root for him. So you know, I've always said
I still think he's a pretender.
You know, I think this Roaring Lion is actually a cat's meow. I'm going to go with pretender as well.
All right. Next section. Biggest bust of the year. Biggest bust of the year. Any players that stick out to you that were picked high or expected to do better than they have done?
I'm going to have to say Tom Brady. Tom Brady has always been a top 5 quarterback pick, but he hasn't really done much. I mean, he had a big game against the Bengals because everyone's saying Brady sucks and blah, 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 blah. So what does Brady do? He throws 3-4 touchdowns. Everything's fine. But is this going to continue? I don't know.
He doesn't have any help around him.
But you know what? I hate to bring this up, but the season they beat the Chargers in the playoffs. Who they have? Rashae Caldwell, you know?
Yeah, he can do it. He's so good looking too. You gotta root for him. All right. One of my biggest busts of the year, I'm going to go in and say LeSean McCoy, okay? Obviously, a really talented guy. He's not putting up the numbers you expect to do. Went for a real high price tag. I think, and another one I'm going to go for as a big bust was Zach Stacy. Two backs, that kind of went kind of higher, but aren't really producing. Pretty much, it just leads me to the conclusion. Both these people, they're on Nights with Bruises. I guess that I'll just have to say, maybe they're not a bust, maybe he's a bust.
I think Zach Stacy actually went before LeSean McCoy.
He was one of the first backs taken in the draft, I think.
I think it was actually a steal, but I don't know if it's considered a steal.
And what did the LA Rams still have Zach? Oh, they're in St. Louis now, so yeah, I don't know where they're going with that.
They're 1-4 too. The actual.
I know, it's kind of tough, no quarterback in that situation. Let's talk about biggest gems. Pickups in the year, people weren't expected to do well, maybe waivers, or maybe low in the draft, real cheap.
You know what? I'm going to have to go with, you might disagree with me, but Sanu, I'm kind of high on this
Mohamed
guy.
Sanu?
Yeah, I'm Sanu from the Bengals. AJ Green went down, he kind of picked it up, he's, scored touchdowns, he even does trick plays. He threw a touchdown to
That's why I think that it's kind of, I just want to see more from him. I'm not a believer yet.
But here's the thing,
no consistency.
If they put that much faith in them to throw a touchdown, then to me, I'm sold. And AJ Green is down again with another hampering injury, so I'm going to go with Sanu.
All right. Okay, let's move on here a little bit. Any teams already struggling where it's pretty much over for them? Is there any teams that are hopeless that are already in rebuilding mode for next year?
I mean, you can look at the angry Swedish Knights and say, he's already in rebuilding mode. But after that win against Luke, you can see, hey, he has a glimmer of hope to maybe make the playoffs. But honestly, I mean, poor little junior tiger here that we kind of invited to the league. Maybe we brought him up to the majors a little too soon. Luke's team, he's 0-4. I mean, maybe he can't play with the big boys yet. Maybe we got to give him a few more years.
He seems like a nice guy, but he kind of has a lot in common with like Johnny Manziel. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of pressure on him, and you kind of put in an environment that he may not be ready for. But there's still hope. He's got a decent team moving back and forth. I mean, that whole situation, the whole Riley family has a sad state of affairs.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you expect his dad to help him, but when they played each other,
well, would you want help from his dad? Look at his record.
But the only win that his dad has is against his son. So it's kind of
some nepotism going, or actually the opposite of nepotism.
Yeah.
I don't know. So yeah, I mean, they do have a crazy amount of points against them. So it's kind of a perfect storm where they perform poorly. They've gotten some bad luck going against some major points.
So I mean, if someone's in rebuilding mode, I would have to say Luke's team. Better luck next time. I think he's 0-5. You know what? I have even heard rumors that they're gonna, just waive the whole expansion team. Maybe go back to the minors.
Move the franchise somewhere. I mean, you gotta have fan support.
I get it. I think it was
Luke. You gotta put it together. You're on the hot seat. Luke.
We were rooting for the underdog, Luke, but you gotta deliver.
You still got time. I mean, we're only just a third of the way through the season, so you still got time to pull this around, pump out a couple of victories. You're still in playoff contention. All right, let's talk about game of the week. Any games coming up this week that you think are pretty important or vital?
Then you know what? Then that would be my game of the week. The upset of the week: Luke's team over Knights with Bruises.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. There's some really in that Knights with Bruises, a lot of shaky stuff going on with that house.
Place looking at Luke's team: Rumbles, Angry Swedish Knights, and Fresh Tortillas. Looking at all four of them, Fresh Tortillas is 2-3.
Can any of them still make the playoffs?
I've been thinking about this. I mean, Luke's team, all of them still have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs. But, I'd have to take out Luke's team. Rumbles, I'd have to take him out. Fresh Tortillas has the best chance because he has two more wins than everyone else, or an extra win. And he has a decent team. He has Phillip Rivers, Torrey Smith. Well, Torrey Smith, that's a bust too. So no, I would bench him if I were you, Fresh Tortillas. He's got Phillip Rivers and Aaron Rodgers, Matthews on reserve. He's got three quarterbacks: Dalton, Rodgers, and Rivers. If you want to make it, trade one of those quarterbacks for a second, third tier player. So if I were to choose one person out of those four, I still would have to go with our defending champ, Angry Swedish Knights.
Yeah, you got Brandon Marshall's kind of had a couple of tough weeks. Doug Martin, almost a bust right there.
He's got a solid team.
He's somebody kind of like the Seahawks who haven't played as well as you'd expected, but it's going to wake a sleeping giant there. You know what I mean?
I would be sure if Swedish Knights pulls it off this week, that's my pick.
All right. Well, that's good analysis. We'll have to be back next time to give some analysis, see how things shake out. You know, here's the waiver wires. There's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, I just got my Twitter followers just told me that there's really shady trade.
Well, listen, if democracy prevails, how it should, that should not go through. Any unjust trades, you know, it depends. You know, democracy's only as strong as its constituents. So
well, what I heard was that they didn't get the contract signing in time, and the mail was already delivered.
I think there was some improper buttons that got pressed. I don't know. I don't think it's right. I think it's bad for the league. Yeah, but we want to hear from you, San Diego.
Definitely.
We want to hear your comments. Call in. We'll take some callers next time here on the greatest fantasy video you've ever seen. I'm here with analyst Jesus Velasquez. My name is my disgusting rat. Well, actually, Alton Brooks.
Pressure